Good morning, friends. Today we are going to move on to a different chapter, chapter number 15, our environment. So, this lesson is quite simple, quite easy, but there are only some terms that we have to see carefully and try to understand how the environment works, how it affects everything around. So, first we'll see the definition of the word environment. What does the word environment mean? The word environment has got a general meaning, like we have a school environment, an office environment, and so on. But in science, we can say the environment as the sum total of all living and non living elements and their effects. So, what is environment? The sum total of all the living and non living elements and their effects which influence human life. So we not only talk about humans, but we are talking about humans right now, but it affects everyone. The birds, the insects, the organisms, everything. So environment is a sum total of all the living and the non-living elements. Okay. So now we'll try to understand a little bit in detail. So first we'll see what are the living elements. Are the biotic elements are the living elements, the animals, the plants, the forests, the fisheries, the birds, etc. All these are the living elements. And the non-living elements are water, land, sunlight, rocks and air. Yes, and the water bodies and everything are the non-living. Now, how do we say the environment affects us? So very simple thing. If you are living in a place where the amount of trees are less, so if the trees are less, then when something is burnt outside, let us say the garbage is burnt or the vehicles are passing by, a lot of CO2 gathers in such an environment. Now we know for the efficiency of the human body, they need to take in a rich amount of oxygen. But the environment has been modified because of the lack of trees. So oxygen is not there and there is more of carbon dioxide. So there are breathing problems, skin problems, etc. Also, today our environment is changing because of certain new technologies. Now we are not actually sure, but they say the 5G technology is going to throw out radiations which are going to affect the animals, plants, forests. Yes, so it is going to affect both the living and the non-living. So simply speaking, environment is made up of all the living and non-living elements. We have mentioned the non-living elements here which are natural. But now there are also artificial elements which is adding to our environment. So the mobile towers that we put up that is giving out the radiations has also become a part of the environment. So we will see now in this chapter why the study of environment is very important. Otherwise, on one side we are dealing with chemistry and the physics and the biology, but along with that the syllabus also contains some lessons on general environment. So now we are going to see why the study of environment is very important. We are living in a technological world where the technology is increasing exponentially every day. But in spite of all the development, so you can see, let me brief you a little. Humans have developed so much technology that today even we have got life saving equipments, we can generate life. Recently I saw that a biological leaf has been developed in a laboratory which can take in oxygen and take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. So technology has increased in such a way exponentially that man is capable of doing anything. Yes, he has almost become like a god. But then comes a grave reminder, a disease like COVID. The people are dying and again humans are feeling helpless. So now till we do not find the vaccine of this COVID corona, people are going to remain helpless. So nature has its good own way to work around. So the environment is very, very important to be studied. And if we want to survive, we also have to learn to maintain the environment. So in the environmental part, we'll first see the biodegradable and the non-biodegradable substances. Okay, so there are substances around us, we saw living and non-living both. Now what are biodegradable? The word bio, remember the word bio and degradable. So substances that are broken down by biological processes are said to be biodegradable, means they are broken down and reused again. So for example, we have got dry leaves, they are made up of starch, cellulose, proteins, carbohydrates, vitamins. We do not eat these leaves, but they are dry leaves, vegetable and fruit peels, dung and excreta, dead bodies of plants and animals. Yes, these dead bodies they contain complex matter like starch, cellulose, carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals, nitrates and so on. When they mix with the soil, then decomposing bacteria decompose them fully, break them up into their separate vitamins, minerals, proteins, etc., which is again used up by the plants. So since then they can be broken down by biological processes, they are called biodegradable. Now, substances that are not broken down by biological processes are said to be non-biodegradable, means our organisms cannot break it down. For examples, we have plastics, thermocol, nylon, paints, tires which are made of rubber, metals. This cannot be broken down. So this will remain the polythene plastics that we use. That is why the government is banning the use of plastic. The plastics which we throw around with the rainwater, they enter the gutters, they clog the gutters. Sometimes people throw food in these plastics which the cows eat, and the plastic gets accumulated in their stomachs because the bacteria in the body or the fungi cannot break up this plastic's thermocol. If you burn them, then they give out poisonous fumes which pollute the air. So these substances which cannot be broken down by the biological processes are said to be non-biodegradable. So the simple idea here is that we should use the biodegradable substance as much as possible and very much reduce the use of the non-biodegradable substances. Though the plastics are cheaper, we should try to avoid the use of plastics. So this is one thing we need to know from the very start, and that is what we are doing. The non-biodegradable substances are dangerous to the environment. So if the environment is modified to be harmful, it will affect the plants, the animals, the humans only. So we have to be very careful while dealing with our environment. Now we'll see what an ecosystem is. So there is an environment in immediate surrounding in which we live, but ecosystem is slightly bigger than the environment. What is an ecosystem? So all organisms such as the plants, the animals, the microorganisms and human beings, all of them put together, and the physical surroundings, they all interact with each other. Interact with each other means, I'll give you a very simple example. CO2 and O2 are non-living, while the human being is living. But how does the human being interact with the air? He breathes in the air, the oxygen mixes with the blood, the carbon dioxide is thrown out. H2O, water. It is very, very important for the human body, but H2O is not a living substance. It is not a biotic component, it is a abiotic component. But the H2O is very, very important for the humans to survive. And as perspiration and urination, we give out the uric acid, or by perspiration we give out the H2O back to the environment. So the H2O is a abiotic component, non-living, but it interacts with the living things. So this interaction together, they maintain a balance in nature. So all living things and non-living things, they interact with each other. And the interaction gives rise to a balance in nature. Okay? So all these interacting organisms in area together with the non-living constituents. So all the living organisms and the non-living, they together form an ecosystem. So what does an ecosystem consist of? Like we said, biotic components and abiotic components. Now, abiotic components are temperature, rainfall, wind, soil, which we did before. Okay, so how does the ecosystem differ? So if you go to a forest, what will you see in a forest? There are a lot of trees, there are certain kind of animals, certain kind of insects. Yes, if you go to the rainforest of the Amazon, there are poisonous frogs, poisonous snakes, but the herbs of the poison are also found nearby in the trees. So the aborigines living there. Then we have got the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. There's still a group of the indigenous people are still living. So they have got their own ecosystem. The trees that they worship, the trees that they eat, the trees that they use for medicine, the animals and birds that they hunt. So all together makes up the forest ecosystem. But there are different types of forest also. There are deciduous forest, tropical forest, coniferous forest. So all these are different ecosystems because the biotic and the abiotic components of those places are different. If you go to a desert ecosystem, then you will find that the kind of plants in the desert are different from the plants near the in the forest. If you go near a pond, you will see the kind of plants growing near a pond are different from those of the desert. The animals, the organisms living near the pond are much different from the ones living in the desert. So ecosystem is a group of the biotic and abiotic components. So I've just named a few ecosystems here. A forest ecosystem is different from a desert ecosystem. A desert ecosystem is different from a pond ecosystem. So if you visit a garden, also in your house or nearby if there is a garden, if you visit a garden you will find different plants. You will find grasses, trees, flower plants like rose, jasmine, sunflower, animals like frogs, insects, birds. So all these are making up an ecosystem. So these living organisms are affected by the non-living components, the abiotic components. So the garden is also an ecosystem. If you look at your garden, yes, and if you go to a garden in a village, then the kind of the birds coming to your garden, the kind of animals or insects in your garden are different from other types of ecosystem. Now if you look at an aquarium, many people have an aquarium in their house. The aquarium is a man-made ecosystem. Why? They have collected water in a tank, they have put some fishes inside, some plants, then they have put an aerator. Aerator is a machine which throws oxygen into the water. So what happens naturally in a pond, man has done artificially in the house. So the aquarium is also an ecosystem, but it is a small man-made ecosystem. So he feeds the fishes, so there is the involvement. In a natural ecosystem, the fishes have to find the food on their own. In an artificial system, the human intervention is there. We have to feed the fishes, but we can put some plants in the aquarium. Yes, then the water has to be changed constantly. Oxygen has to be added to the water constantly for the fishes to survive. So the aquarium is a man-made ecosystem. So now we move on to the ecosystem and the parts of the ecosystem. So the first thing, the most important thing which enters the ecosystem is the producers. And then we have the consumers. So first of all, who are the producers? The producers are ones which produce the food that is needed for the whole system. So we begin with green plants. Green plants and certain blue green algae can produce the food in the presence of sunlight by photosynthesis. So they are the producers. Means the producers are the first step in the ecosystem. They are the one who interact with the abiotic components and prepare the food. So they are the producers. And who are the consumers? Organisms which consume the food produced by the producers either directly or indirectly. Indirectly or directly. So the organisms which consume the food produced by the producers either directly or indirectly, or they even feed on other consumers. have the consumers. So consumers are herbivores. So herbivores directly depend upon the producers. We have got carnivores. Carnivores depend upon the consumers because these consumers eat consumers. Omnivores, the one which eats the producers and consumers both. And then we have got the parasites, they are living in the living host. So this all are consumers because they do not produce their food directly, they have to depend on others for food. Then we have got decomposers. Very important part of the environment of the ecosystem is the decomposers. What do these decomposers do? These microorganisms, which comprise of bacteria and fungi, break down. Like we said, the biodegradable substances, yes, they are broken down, the dead remains and waste products of organisms. Means the organisms break down, the fungi and bacteria break down the components and make it reusable. These organisms are the decomposers as they break down the complex organic substances into simple organic substances that go into the soil and are used up once more. So decomposers are very important part of the ecosystem. So now if you are living in a city, yes, when you are living in a city, what happens? There are some animals which die. They are on the road. Now when animals die on the road, they start to decompose. They give out a bad smell and they can even spread a disease. So what do? We call up the municipality who comes and collects a dead body and disposes it very safely. But in the jungle, there is no municipality to carry away dead bodies. So how does the jungle or the forest ecosystem maintain itself? So in certain forests and certain areas, there are animals and birds like the vultures and the hyenas. They are called the scavengers. Remember, they are not decomposers, they are the scavengers. Why they are not decomposers? Scavengers means they eat up dead bodies. So we have hyenas which eat dead bodies. We have got the vultures which eat dead bodies. They both are scavengers, means they eat the dead bodies and clean it up totally. But they are not decomposers because they do not break down the substance, complex substance into simple. They just eat the dead body, so they are very important part of the ecosystem because they eat up the dead bodies, preventing disease. If lot of dead bodies accumulate in the forest, then these bodies decompose and can spread disease which other animals can die. So scavengers like vultures and hyena are a very important part of the ecosystem for cleaning it up. But these are scavengers and not decomposers. Decomposers are the bacteria and fungi which break down the dead remains and the waste products of organism. So the dung and the excreta, the dry vegetable peels I told you, the dry leaves, the hay after the wheat is taken, when all this is allowed to decompose, the bacteria break it down into reusable substances which is used by the plants once again. Again they produce food. So plants produce the food from these substances. Animals eat those plants. When these plants and animals die, they are decomposed and again they are added back to the soil. You must have done this in the 9th standard in the oxygen cycle, the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle. All these cycles which you have done is nothing but a part of the ecosystem. So now we move from this and understand the food chain and the food webs. So you can see here very simply, this one shows a forest ecosystem or a forest food chain. There are grasses or herbs, these are the producers. We have got a deer who eat this leaves, dry leaves, green leaves, sorry. So it is the first consumer. There is a tiger who eats the deer. So you can see the arrow is shown as the flow. The trees will not eat the deer. The deer is eating the leaves and the tiger is eating the deer. The deer is not eating the tiger. So the arrow shows in which way there is the flow of energy. So with the help of the sunlight and photosynthesis, plants produce their food. So they are the producers. The deer is the consumer. It is called the first level consumer. And the tiger is called the second level consumer because they both depend on the producer. The deer depends directly on the producer, and the tiger depends indirectly on the producer. It depends directly on the deer. Then we have got a grassland ecosystem. Grassland, there are grass eaten by the grasshopper. The grasshopper is eaten by a frog. The frog is eaten by a snake. The snake is eaten by a eagle. So here the energy is flowing from the grass, the producer, to the first level consumer, that is the grasshopper. The grasshopper is eaten by the frog, so it is called the second level consumer. So this is the primary consumer, the grasshopper. This is the producer. The grasshopper is the primary consumer. The frog is the secondary consumer. The snake is the tertiary consumer, and the eagle is the quaternary consumer. So look at how energy is flowing. Then we have got a pond ecosystem. Algae in the pond eaten by prawns and shrimps and small fishes, which is eaten by the big fish, and the crane and the stork eat the fishes. So this is a pond ecosystem. So like I told you, different kind of animals live in different kind of ecosystems, and they all depend on each other. Now why the dependence is very important? Let us see. Imagine there is no tiger. Imagine all the tigers are dead. Okay? So if all the tigers are dead now, then there is nobody to eat the deer. So the deer keeps on multiplying into very, very large numbers. Because there is no tiger to keep their population in control, the deer will expand. Yes, the deer will grow in numbers, will increase in numbers. Now when the deer will increase in number, they will need more food to eat. So they will start eating all the grass available, and once they eat up all the grass, then all the plants will die. If the plants will die, then the deer will also die. So the whole ecosystem has failed. That is why a food chain is very, very important. A food chain actually is showing the flow of energy, but why all these parts of the ecosystem are very important? Because they all maintain a balance with each other. So food chain, you can see, this is a very simple food chain. You can be asked in the exam. So the grass, the grasshopper, the frog, the snake, the eagle. This is a food chain. So we got three different food chain here. The first is the forest ecosystem, the second is the grassland ecosystem, and third is the pond ecosystem. So you can see now each step or level of the food chain forms a trophic level. Troph means food, so trophic level. So what are the autotrophs? Autotrophs means those which are producing their own food, which are the producers. So they are at the first trophic level. The producers are at the first trophic level. Okay, so what do they do? They fix up the solar energy and make the energy available for the heterotrophs or the consumers. The herbivores are the primary consumers. Small carnivores like the frog is the secondary consumer. Then the snake has become the tertiary consumer, and the eagle has become the quaternary consumer. So there are consumers at different levels. Producer is only one, the consumers are at different levels. So that was the food chain, forest, grassland and a pond. This is a food web. Okay, so what is a food web? A food chain flows in only one direction. A food web can go multiple directions. So you can look at the grass and the algae. The grass and the algae both are eaten by the mice. The mice is eaten by a raccoon, or the mice can be eaten by a cat, or the mice can be eaten by a hawk also. This bird can also eat the mouse. Yes, so this is a food web. A food chain is what? Flowing in one direction only. Only one path to flow. In a food web, there are multiple paths to flow. So you can see this mouse, and you can see the rabbit and the fox. So the fox is eating the goat, but the fox will also eat the rabbit also. So here there are multiple paths for energy to flow. So this is the picture of a food web. So there are multiple paths. You can see the snake eats the frog, the snake eats smaller birds, the snake eats the mice also. The snake is eaten by the eagle also, the snake is eaten by a peacock also. But the peacock also feeds on directly on the plants also. So peacock is an omnivore. This makes up a food chain, sorry, a food web. A food web is where all the food chains are interlinked together. Now you can see the flow of energy. You must have seen, first of all, the producers or the plants with the help of photosynthesis, yes, prepare the food. So that is the energy source. And why we need the food? Food is the fuel to provide us energy to do work. So when there is an interaction among the various components, it is actually, like I told you, the flow of energy from one component to another. The autotrophs capture the sunlight and convert it to chemical energy. So they are preparing their own food, and this food energy supports all the activities in the living world. So everything in the living world, directly or indirectly, for their energy or for their food, depend upon the autotrophs, that is the plants. So from there the energy goes to the heterotrophs. From the heterotrophs, that is the primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer, quaternary consumer. After they die or the waste, it is decomposed, given back to the soil. Again the plants use it to form energy, so the cycle continues. But all the energy is not transferred. When one form of energy is changed to another, some energy is lost to the environment in the way which cannot be used again. So the flow of energy between various components of the environment is different. So let us see how it happens. Okay, now sunlight is thrown in all directions, but the green plants in the terrestrial ecosystem, that is on land, they can only capture about 1% of the sunlight that fall on their leaves, and that 1% is turned to food energy. So of all the energy of the sun, only 1% is used to make the food. Okay. Now when the green plants are eaten by the primary consumers, that are the herbivores, a great deal of energy is lost as heat to the environment. So you can see when the deer eat the plants, they get the energy. But most of the energy is used for their locomotion, their movement, their metabolic activities. So not all energy is saved. The energy they take in is also used up. They go into digestion and doing work, so energy is being used up. So when the tiger eats the deer, okay, so all the food that the deer is eating, the herbivores are eating for the movement, for the digestion, they're using up the energy. So they accumulate only an average of 10% of the energy of the food they have eaten. So of the food they have eaten, the body grows, but the energy level is only 10%. Now when the tiger eats the deer, it gets the energy, but from there also the tiger is moving, digesting, doing all metabolic activities, so the energy is used up. There on an average it can only maintain 10% of the average value. So what you can see, at each step the level of energy keeps on decreasing. So it is something like this. You can see in the diagram, the flow of energy is unidirectional, means energy only flows in this direction, in the direction of the food chain. So first the energy is taken by the producers, they produce a lot of energy, but they use up the energy, so only a little energy is surviving in them. Okay, so then it passes to the herbivores. So what do the herbivores do? They don't eat only one plant, they need more than one plant because they are getting energy from all the plants for their use. Then we move on to the tiger. So tiger in the lifetime has to eat a lot of deer because the energy level is decreasing at each level. Then we have got the tertiary consumer. So the pyramid is showing that the energy flow is decreasing. Here you can see the area is more. Here the area is less. So the energy is decreasing at each level. So food chains usually consist of only 3 or 4 steps. Why? Because energy is decreasing at every step. The loss of energy is so great that very little usable energy remains. After 4 trophic levels, all the energy is mostly used up. So the ecosystem have got lower trophic levels. Now the length and complexity of the food chains vary greatly. They change from place to place. So that is why the food web, where one animal can eat more than two or three kind of organisms, and they are also eaten by two or three kind of animals. So instead of a straight food chain, the relation is shown as a food web. So now you understood what is the importance of the food web. Because of the flow of energy level decreasing at each level, the food web gives various sources of energy, so all the organisms can survive. Now, also with the food chain comes something for the waste. Like the energy is depleting, but the waste is increasing. That is called biomagnification. Magnification means to grow or to increase. Now let us see. Some harmful chemicals enter our bodies through the food chain. How does it happen? Let us go from the start. Farmers use pesticides and other chemicals to protect their crops from diseases and pests. So pesticides and other chemical fertilizers are used. Now, not all the pesticides or chemicals are used by the plants. So the one which remains, those chemicals either wash down into the soil, they go into the soil, or they flow with the water to the water bodies. That is the ponds and the lakes or the rivers, they can go. If they go into the soil, then they are absorbed by the plant. So this waste is now taken by the plant, this chemical, along with the water and minerals. And if they go in the water bodies, then aquatic plants make use of that. So when the plants have taken it in, it has entered the food chain. Now we learnt about non-biodegradable substances which cannot be broken down by bacteria and fungi. So it is not degradable. These chemicals are not degradable, means this waste is not degradable, means the bacteria and fungi cannot break it down. Because they cannot break it down, it gets accumulated progressively. So imagine the chemical is taken by a lot of plants in the water. Now the small fishes are eating these plants. So all this waste is generating in the small fish. Look at the trophic level. The small fish are eating these aquatic plants and the chemicals are getting accumulated in their body. Now one big fish, let us say, eats the small 100 fishes. A big fish is eating the small 100 fishes. So waste from each small fish has accumulated inside this big fish. The waste from the 100 small fishes has all accumulated into that big fish. Now a bigger fish is eating this 100 big fish. So the waste from all the 100 fishes accumulating in the bigger fish. So people who eat this non-veg food like the fishes, that accumulations now comes to the human body. So you can say at every level, the concentration of these chemicals gets accumulated in our bodies. This is called biological magnification. So remember, the chemicals is taken by the aquatic plants which keep on growing. So small fish are eating this chemical, so these aquatic plants, so the chemical is entering their body. Now one big fish eats 100 small fish. So the accumulation, this waste, waste is coming in the big fish from small 100 fishes. It is non-biodegradable, means it is collecting. So all the little waste from this 100 fishes has been collected into the big fish. Now a bigger fish eats 100 of this big fish. So the waste accumulated by the big fish is now all collecting into this bigger fish. So it is the waste is accumulating at each level. This is called biological magnification of waste. So what is the one way wheat and rice, vegetables and fruits, and even meat contain various amount of pesticides and residues. So wheat and rice, vegetables and fruits, all of them have got some pesticide, okay, and this cannot be removed by washing or other means. So since this cannot be removed, we should reduce the waste. It is not that we should not use it, but we should reduce the use of pesticides and chemicals, artificial fertilizers. And if you want to make pesticides, we should try working on natural pesticides and natural chemicals for the plants. So this is the first part of the lesson. What we have understood, what is the environment, what are biodegradable and non-biodegradable substances, what is the ecosystem, the different types of ecosystem, the food chain, the flow of energy in the food chain, and how food webs are made, and the last part is the biomagnification of waste. This is the first part of the lesson, quite an easy lesson, easier to understand, but you see how much effect it has on the human life. Okay, so kindly revise this lecture. I'm going to end here. Thank you.